Good everyone, welcome to this video. Today we have a review on the Ju-188 A-2. This is the most recent German bomber added for the German tech tree, and as soon as I looked on the dev server, I said to Hairy Feet, DOA, dead on arrival. And I was sort of right, but sort of wrong at the same time. So the Ju-188 is essentially a beefed up Ju-88, and there wasn't really much to differentiate it from the Ju-88 other than a slightly better cockpit design for visibility purposes, improved engines, and most importantly, improved bomb load. However, this did come at the cost of performance. Now, this vehicle does feature an internal bomb bay, but only for 10 50-kilogram bombs. And that is your stock payload, by the way. 10 50-kilogram bombs, they can't even drop half a base. So yeah, the stock grind on this thing isn't particularly fun. I recommend actually using this aircraft as an attacker at first. It just seems to do better at that when you start off with it. But as you get bomb loads like the 6.250s or like I think it's the 2.1000s and the 10.50s and the 2.50s, yeah. So this bomb load here is typically the one you want to get. Two 250s, two 1000s, and 1050s. This seemed to be the most versatile payload for me. Other than this one that I have currently equipped, the two 500s, two 250s, and the 1050s. So like I say, your stock bomb load is 1050s. Not great. Your first upgrade, the 6 250s, can drop a base for the most part. I don't think it can in a full up tier, however. I never got a full up tier though. Then we have 1050s and 6 250s. To put it simply, if your 6 250s do not drop a base at a full up tier, drop the 50s, that should finish it off. You then have two 500s, two 510 50-kilogram bombs, the payload that I described earlier, two 50s on the wings, two 500s on the fuselage, and 10 50s. You've then got a couple of 1000s, and then obviously the bomb load that I told you earlier. You also have access to a Satan and a 1000, and also a Satan and a 3 250 payload, which looks like this. The wing bombs do drop as a pair, so just bear that in mind. However, the fuselage bombs drop separate. And obviously the internal bomb bay, which is the 50-kilogram bombs, do drop separate as well. So in this battle, me and Harry were teamed up, and he brought out the Spruce Goose, aka the TAR 154. And we was working on Spade in this thing at the time, and obviously it wasn't too bad to Spade actually. However, I don't think this aircraft is worthy of 5.3. Its firepower can compete with some of the fighters, however, in a full up tier, it will just get shredded. And I really think this aircraft needs to drop to the region of about 4.0. Alternatively 4.3 due to the 20mm cannons. This to me would make sense, because then you've got the ME-264, which can level all three bases plus the airfield, and then you've got 188s to back it up. Alternatively, the 188s can rush in, drop all three bases, letting so that the ME-264s can drop their full payload on the airfield. This does not work that way, unfortunately, and this aircraft is stuck at 5.3. This can be a detriment, but at the same time it can also be a benefit due to the amount of tanker trash. You typically don't tend to get many fighters chasing you as long as you take specific routes on most maps. And if you're fast enough, you should be able to get in and drop your payload and get out. That's typically how I try to fly this thing. So, let's get into the stats of the vehicle and just go over my overall impressions of it. Ju-188 is just here, 50% win rate, 6 deaths, 12 air kills, and 100 ground targets. In terms of bases, I probably dropped in the region of about 10 to 15 bases. Not a bad series of results, but at the same time, I think it could probably be better at a lower BR. Most of my deaths involved trading with the enemy aircraft, and that's really what lets this thing down, is the fact that it has to fight aircraft I don't think it should fight. Such as P-51H's, Tempest, which basically made this thing's speed irrelevant. An aircraft like the Dornier 217 is at 4.7 is perfectly capable of not only getting in and out, but even in a full up tier it might just have a chance. It still does have to fight a Tempest, but if it's at the M model, it's still fast enough to get out. This thing is in the same boat as the E and the K217, to the fact that once it gets nice and level, it's actually rather slow, and enemy fighters are easily going to run you down. So my proposal is this, 4.0 or 4.3 for the BR, whichever suits Gaijin's end. Whilst I've been able to get good results, I don't think many other players will, but we'll have to see. So let's get into the result. Well, let's get into the actual full review of this aircraft, and you're going to see just exactly how batshit crazy this battle was. It was absolutely hilarious. I was flying, obviously, wingman with Mr. Hairy Feet in this battle. He's just as funny on comms, folks, I tell you. We had some right laughs, Spade, in this aircraft. And this battle actually got the plane close to being done. I think it was about 4 mods left or something like that. And like I say, it's a good aircraft, but I just don't think it needs to be at 5.3. That's for definite. So in this battle, I've started off with these 6.250s, and once again we have the sound bug, because, well, Gaijin have clearly buggered up the sound on replays for aircraft. So, yeah, I can only apologise for that, but this isn't on my end, this is on Gaijin's end. So in this battle, I've started off with a 6.250s payload, and obviously I've marked out the base that I intend to bomb, which is the left-hand base. If I remember rightly, I was the only bomber on my team, whilst the enemy team had 4. Sorry, no, there's a 264 now. But that's always nice. At least I'm not on my own. So since you're probably getting sick and tired of hearing the engines braking and stuff like that already, I'm going to jump us ahead to 8 times speed. As you can tell, this is a 23-minute battle. And you're going to see that B-25, that Le Nordique, very soon. So I dove in as fast as I could and started getting ready to drop my payload. And obviously I had to press the space bar. It was 5 times, sorry, because obviously I had to drop the 2 wing bombs and then the 4 fuselage bombs separate. And this B-25 pilot is going to be really aggressive, but he's going to regret that decision. And all I'll say is it's thanks to that top turret I was able to get at this situation. So he's coming in now, and obviously he's very annoyed at the fact that he's seen a 188, and quite clearly he's thinking, new bomber, I must kill it. I don't get this mentality with players. I honestly don't. I don't understand mentality because it really doesn't help your team that you're chasing down a bomber that's already dropped its payload. And you've done your job. The best thing you could probably do in this situation, bud, is go back to your base. So I score a decent crit. However, this thing is actually quite maneuverable. And I'm able to throw this thing around much harder than the B-25 can. And that top turret actually has a surprising amount of rotation, shall we say. You can see, I'm easily out-turning him. He's trying to use his dorsal gunner to get me. I score a crit and I blow off his left wing with a 20mm turret. That's my first kill. And obviously at this point, I want to return to the airfield because, well, I've dropped my bombs and he's thinking, what the fuck? Because obviously he doesn't know about the aircraft. Clearly didn't do his research and just thinks, oh, I must rush the bomber because it's new and I must play my B-25 like a fighter. Doesn't work that way. So I put a jet, get wrecked, and he is going to be like, oh, you 2-shot me. Whoop-de-doo, it's a 20mm. What do you expect? Is it... See, look, 2-shot and dead, what the fuck? I mean, it is a 20mm. So, I don't get players like that. I really don't. So obviously I'm making my way back to my airfield at this point, and this team started off strong. However, it's towards around the, I think it's the 10-minute mark is when it starts to go bad. I think you can see Harry Feet in his spruce goose. So he's diving in to chase after a wyvern, however he's not going to be able to catch it. Side note, Hairy Feet will give you the link to this skin if you want it on your Tier 154. Makes it look all woody and stuff like that. It's really nice. However, Hairy Feet unfortunately is going to get shot down. So at this point, I was thinking, what bomb load should I take? Should I take the 6.250s and continue, or go for something else? And in the end, I went out with the 6.250s to try and bomb some tanks, because the 264 had already done the rest of the work for me. So obviously I'm trying to gain speed, and this thing does take a bit to gain speed even when spaded, and with a full bomb load it's quite hard to get this thing off the ground, but this is only about 1250 kilogram, or like 1500 kilograms, so it's not that heavy on the aircraft, so it should be okay. So I just paused the replay then and meant to jump us forward. But here you can see what's going to most likely cost us the victory here. That P-47 that you just saw then is now ground attacking. As you can tell by my team, we're already stretched for fighters, and we really need as many fighters as we can get. Hairy Feet's already been shot down. And the enemy team have 4 fighters left. A P-59, a P-47, a Spitfire, and a Wyvern. You're going to see the Wyvern later. But this is the thing. That P-47 is currently mowing down ground targets and has just crashed. We're now down to 2 fighters, 2 bombers. This is not ideal. And me and Hairy Feet are fairly certain that Poseidon CZE cost us this game. If he hadn't done that, we would have had a higher chance of winning this game. Spoiler alert, we did lose this game. But at this point, Hairy Feet is spectating me, and well, this first bombing run doesn't go particularly great. I do spot the Spitfire, and this bombing run goes horrendous because I barely aimed it, to be truthfully honest. I was just bad with my bomb drops today. And well, bombs out. The replay's been lovely again, isn't it? And it turns out to get a single bomb on a tank, so I have to loop back around with my 1 remaining bomb and hope I can get something. So I'm diving in right now on this final 2 group of tanks, and I'm thinking, can I maybe nail both? I go for the double drop, and I get both. So, always helps towards the Spade, doesn't it? That's 2 ground targets for me, and I start making my way back to the airfield. But first of all, I thought, let's go look at some of these truck convoys and see if there's anything I can feed on. Unfortunately, there is no light vehicles for me to feed on. And at this point, I thought, I'll just follow this Wyvern, see where he's going, keep him marked for my team. I'm never going to catch him, but I don't really need to as long as I keep him spotted. It is at this point where the Wyvern is about to see blood in the water. He spots my 188 and starts throwing it around for a sharp turn. And obviously he wants a head on, and this is where the maneuverability of this thing comes in. It is actually rather agile. I'm going to shut up for a minute. Noisy, eh? Get lost. Noisy bellend. I hate Wyverns, I really do. Most noisiest aircraft in this game, I tell you. Kill number 2, that's going to be my last air kill for this run. But anyway, let's jump us forward again and let's get back to that airfield, shall we? So after that annoying little bugger's dealt with, I decided to return to base and put on a bigger bomb load. Obviously I didn't have the 1000s at the time, and I did not have the Satans. So I went with my next biggest bomb load. 2 250s, 2 500s, and 10 50s. And I'm actually going to not skip the takeoff, because I want you to see just how heavy this thing gets when it's got a full payload on. And like a pretty much full payload. I mean, it's what? This is about 2,000 kilograms, give or take, and the biggest kilograms take you can actually bring is about 2,800. It's even worse with the 2,800. But you can see, even with this bomb load, it was struggling to get airborne. I decided to aim for the gap in the trees and get this thing airborne. That would be the best way to do it. And that turned out to be the case, otherwise I'd have most likely hit the trees. So at this point, the Focke-Wulf 190 has just been crit, and this P-47 up here is trying to climb, but is somehow going to balls it up. So, I'm going to jump us ahead to when I do some tank bombing, and well, sadly, I don't survive this flight. And well, the Focke-Wulf 190 has just... The Focke-Wulf 190 has just crashed, and well, this isn't going to end well, as you can imagine. The Hitler bolt's just been crit in the head-on, and yeah, this isn't going great. I get a kill on that medium tank there with the two 250s. I open the bomb bays up to obviously begin more runs, but at this point, the Hitler bolt's gone back to base. He is actually going to J out, and yeah, this isn't going to end very well for me. It's another bomb out on a tank. Did I get it? I don't think I did. No, I missed it by about half an inch. And well, with Gaijin's bug of flipping tanks these days, it can be very annoying. So at this point, the P-47N eyes me up, and obviously he wants to kill the new bomber. He does score a few hits, and I thought he was honestly going to pancake, but he has just enough controllability to pull out the dive. And I was trying to fight him off, but as you can tell, for the next 3 minutes, I'm going to be on a defensive. But this is what this thing can actually do. It can hold out, and there you go, the P-47 just J'd out. He's that much of a scumbag, he refused to help his bomber. I mean, it's only 2 aircraft left. There's a P-59 and this P-47, which is on the deck, and it is actually going that fast. He's only going about 300 miles an hour. And he decides, yep, I'm going to J out. I'm going to leave this bomber to die. Yeah, you really helped the team, because I mean, he just ground pounded. Yes, he got a couple of air kills, but he mostly ground pounded. Very annoying that we have to deal with players like that. So at that point, I've just ditched the bombs. I'm thinking, right, if I'm going to dogfight him in some degree of fashion, I need all the maneuverability I can get. And you can see this thing's actually quite tough as well. But if there's one thing in 8 stopping, it's 850 cals. And it's only a matter of time. At this point, I was just thinking, my time's up. There's nothing I can really do. I'm trying to fight back with a 20mm, but I score a crit, he scores a crit on me, blows my elevator off, and at this point I'm trying to spray him down, but at this point my top gunner, or sorry, the 13mm machine gunner is killed. I'm trying to hit him, but there's nothing I can do. And that was the end of that. Not the most stellar of endings, and feels like some Romeo and Juliet, but even so. But like I say, this aircraft can do work. I just don't think it is worthy of a 5.3 battle rating. The region of 4.0 to 4.3 would perfectly suit this aircraft. It's got the speed to do it, it's got good firepower to defend itself, and it's not as OP as a 264. I think that move would make more sense in my personal opinion. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys off. I hope you enjoyed today's review on the Ju-188, and I'll see you all on the next one.